Welcome. It is Dragon here once again. Thank you everyone for joining me. I'm joined, very honoured to be joined.
No.
By the
embarrassed. I'm embarrassed.
Don't be embarrassed. I should take the opportunity to practice my really bad Cantonese and say Neho Daigo. But yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this, because you are insanely busy all the time. I don't know. I struggle to juggle the few commitments that I have. It's a marvel looking at how much you're able to pack in. I'm sure you must be a Jedi master of time management to fit in the amount that you do. Because anybody who's watching my little channel will know your name, because you come up a lot. Anytime that I'm covering new releases, you do commentaries for everybody, basically all the big ever here. But I tried to put together a little kind of wee list of just the labels.
Okay.
And as far as I'm aware, Eureka is a very obvious one.
The very first one. Eureka was the very first.
Started on the Sammo Hung set, right?
Yeah.
So Eureka, 88 films, Arrow Video, Chameleon Films out of Australia, soon to be Radiance, Shout Factory, again fairly recently, one for Vinegar Syndrome, I think.
Two actually. I've done two.
Oh, okay.
There will be more, but I've done two.
And Severin, who you did they've got those trailers.
Oh yeah, you remember those?
Yeah.
I wish we could do more, but apparently they didn't sell that well for whatever reason. I think they were ahead of its time. Let's put it this way. You know,
a little bit. I think they're also Severin, because they're not a label that's on my radar that much. I suspect they're gonna be, and we'll get to that. So far they haven't done that much in terms of Hong Kong cinema.
Right.
It's mostly kind of a little bit more kind of grindhouse and exploitation and horror and stuff, which is not quite my main thing. I'd love to collect everything, but I don't have the cash and I don't have the space. So I do
join the club. Join the club.
And there's so much coming out. I think it's hard to not consider the era we're in just now a golden age in terms of releases, but I have to take a step back sometimes and realize how small a group we effectively are who are still continuing to kind of buy this stuff. It's really only a few thousand people.
Well, I mean, bringing up a good point. You mentioned like the small group. Actually, I don't think it's that small anymore. I think maybe we started as a small group, on these little, like the Facebook group and stuff, on forums and stuff. But I think word of mouth really helped a lot. I think there are people who may not even participate in the group. They may not comment, they may not post, but they lurk. Yeah. They read what people say. They read what we post, and then also I think when they buy some of these titles, they listen to our commentary. You know me, like I'm a marketing guy, so like sometimes I'll mention, this film is also available from so and so. Like in my commentary, I always like to do that. It's just a marketing man in me, because I used to do marketing, so it's like, well, why not mention some of these titles? Like if I'm going to mention these titles, and if the same label carries these titles, why not mention them? So I think that helps a little bit too, because they listen to my commentary and I mention, let's say I do Michelle Yeoh commentary, and I say, she was also in this title, or like who so and so is in this film, which is also available, and then maybe they like this film that they're watching, and then they decide to seek out the other title that I mentioned, and I think one thing lead to another, and so I think the influence these, I guess whatever you could say, small groups or forums have. We should not underestimate them. I think they really help push this momentum, push this renaissance, so that everybody's not buying these films, which led to all these nice box set. Look at like the box set behind you, the Shaw stuff, and also other things. And I'm very grateful to these fans. I mean, I think they really are one of the main reasons why we are having this kind of nice little boutique label wave of Hong Kong cinema.
It's a wonderful thing. I mean, we're spoiled for choice at this stage. And I know that there's sometimes people will grumble because they are smaller labels. And in a lot of cases, 1-2-man operations, in some cases, 88 films, 2 men. And I just spoke with Adam from Third Window, who I don't think you've worked with so far. No. Yeah, he's more kind of, I know Arna and Big Mike have just done a commentary track for them. He's slightly more Japanese cinema focused now, but not always. I mean, he put out PTU before Eureka did back in the day and stuff. So he has certainly dabbled with other areas, but that's a one-man show. So I think it's hard sometimes for people, if they're maybe not as familiar with the kind of ins and outs of the industry side of things, will see 88 and Eureka in the same vein as Warner Brothers or Disney, you know, and they're very different. They're very different.
Yeah, they're very different. Like, you know, like people always talk about, oh yeah, 88 films are always pushing their release date back. You have to understand one thing, okay? These, like you just mentioned, boutique labels versus Warner Brothers. You know, like, look, the big boys, you know, Warner Brothers, the Hollywood labels, they have the quantity, right? They have the volume, so that all the disc replicators would, you know, more or less kowtow to them first, right? They say, okay, I need to print Avatar. Oh, hell yeah, they're going to stop all the other labels pressing lines. They're going to open all the replication line to Avatar, obviously, right? So, and I was in Tai-Seng, so I know all about replication, and I've done all these pressing and stuff. So they have schedules. They have, you know, they have schedules, and they also have to give priorities to volume. And so what happened here is labels like 88 Film would schedule a pressing schedule. You know, like they would do a pressing schedule with the replicator. They would say, okay, I have these titles. When can you press them? And then the replicator might say, okay, well, I'll give you like June. Let's say June, okay. And let's say for whatever reason there's some slight delay. Either I turn in my commentary late, or you know, other people turn in stuff late, or what have you. Okay. Obviously, they're not the schedule will have to be moved. Now, when
they'll miss their window.
Right, they missed the window. Exactly. Exactly. They missed the window. And so once they miss the window, they have to reschedule it. Now, when you reschedule it, you have to remember other labels are also pressing this with them. And also, you have to realize there's only like one plant now. Like one plant in, like everybody's like, in North America, everybody's pressing in Mexico. Okay, there's only one plant technically in Mexico. So everybody's pressing in Mexico. Here in Europe, I think somewhere in Czechoslovakia or somewhere.
It is now. I think there used to be a huge Sony plant in London, but it got burned down. Like when the riots happened.
Wow. Okay.
When there was riots, like quite a few years ago now, that was one of the things that ended up getting really badly damaged. And it was set fire to, and so that whole plant is gone. So I think
So you really only have just one plant, okay, in Europe and one plant in North America. And so once you miss that window, like you said, they have to reschedule it. And then, of course, during that time, like, you know, other labels already started giving them titles to press. And so they say, so the replicators, okay, well, you missed that window. Let me see when the next available window is. Oh, the next available window actually is going to be like August.
Yeah.
Right? 2 months from now. So they have no choice. They have to wait. They have no choice, because that's how the business works. That's how it is. So, you know, and that's why people, you know, I really urge people to give these boutique labels a lot of slack. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, give them a lot of slack, and like, especially for 88 Films, you know, and I'm not defending them on anything. I mean, I just the fact that like you have basically a two-man operation.
Yeah.
Turning out all these titles, not just Hong Kong movies, you have to remember they also do Italian horror, they do other stuff, you know. They're not a Hong Kong label, they're doing all kinds of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And
I quite agree.
Yeah, I mean the amount of things they're putting out, and the content, you have to remember all these. And also, you have to remember, we're not just talking about disc pressing. There's also printing. You know, the booklets, the posters, the boxes, those all need to be coordinated, okay? It's not easy. I'm telling you, it's not easy. Any one of these any delay in one of these chain will cause the whole thing to, you know, just push back. Like I mean, like when I did Tai-Seng, you know, like the DVD covers are printed somewhere else. Then I got to send them to the plant. I got to send them to the replicator, so they can package it for me and then ship it to us. So any delay in that chain, there's a ripple effect.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, hey, give these guys lots of slacks, okay? You know, they're doing the best, really. I mean, what they're doing now is like 10 times better than what I was doing in Tai-Seng in terms of quality. Okay, so, and besides, like you said, there's so many things coming out. It's like if there's delay, hey, it gives your wallet a break. So
exactly, yeah, and I think I suspect we're probably of a pretty similar age, and so I remember the kind of the dark era when, I mean, Tai-Seng was generally always more of a US based label, and so over here, once Hong Kong Legends, the DVD label, kind of wound down, there was nothing for like almost 20 years. I mean, literally not years would go by without a single Hong Kong release coming around. And the ones that did were generally bare bones. There was nothing on them. It was pretty dark. And as far as Shaw Brothers releases, absolutely nothing. I mean,
Shaw Brothers. Oh, Jesus. Oh,
yeah, because when Celestial, I remember when Celestial started remastering onto DVD, and that was a huge thing for us. Even be able to import because they're all coming from like Yes Asia at that point. So you're bringing them from Hong Kong.
when they were doing their own remastering and stuff, Region 3 DVDs and I remember Tai Sing tried so hard to try to buy those titles back then, and it went nowhere.
Yeah,
they were very difficult to negotiate.
Shaws are it's very strange to me how much it's almost like they're slightly ashamed of their past and their legacy. Like we've read, because I got married in Hong Kong, so when we were there, we went on a pilgrimage. Like my poor wife, 2 days after we got married, I think I dragged her out to Clearwater Bay, and we went to
you went to the studio
and saw the gates. I think when the sign was sort of still up in front, and you could still get around to what was the old accommodation block. And I think
the office building. I mean, the old administration building is still there.
Yeah,
I went there too. I went to the shot footage for our documentary, which we'll talk about later. But
and you got through the gates because we couldn't get past the
we
gates.
knew somebody that used to work for Shaw, but we actually got into trouble a little bit. We stayed too long. Let's put it this way. We're not supposed to stay that long. We stayed that long that we got almost literally got kicked out. We were really kind of like. We were told to you gotta leave.
That's crazy to me, because I think you're doing so much to essentially kind of help honor and celebrate their work, much more so than is happening in Hong Kong. Sadly, they don't really there ideally should be a Hong Kong film museum there, and I know the Bruce Lee exhibit's semi-permanent now.
Bruce Lee exhibit is semi-permanent. I was there just a few months ago. I went there
to
shoot footage for our documentary.
Then there's no perfect time for us to talk. Let me bring up the poster just quickly.
Okay,
this has been announced. So this is what you're going to be diving into when you get back to the States after your UK trip.
Yeah.
And a documentary that you and Michael Worth
and David Gregory
from David Gregory from Severin.
Yeah, this is basically Severin Films. I mean, you can see it says Severin Films right there. Yeah. So this was 6 years in the making. David approached me and said, "Hey, I wanted to do this documentary." And sorry, that's my electric dog from my ring. Anyway, so David approached me and said, "Hey, I want to do this documentary, and I was told that you might be the best guy to help me find these people to interview." And I said, "Well, I'll try." And then we ended up finding all these people. I mean, it was pretty crazy, but it was 6 years in the making. There were, there's several people who already passed away. Eddie Cole has passed away. John Ben has passed away. Roy Horan has passed away. They're all in the documentary.
And Philip Cole as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. Did I say Philip Cole? I said Philip Cole, right? Yeah. I'm sorry. I meant Philip Cole. Philip Cole has passed away. Yeah. Philip Cole has passed. I mean, we interviewed him 4 months before he died. Yeah. So.
Oh man.
Yeah. I mean, at that time, nobody knew he was. He was suffering from cancer, and so.
Because he still looked so good. I think he
looked pretty good. Yeah. He only looked a little bit skinny at that time, but yeah. And we found all these people, and then the reason it took so long was because because of COVID, obviously. COVID kind of stopped things a little bit, not too much, but because most of the stuff we already did prior to COVID, it was really we were waiting for two talents, and the idea was we got to have these two talents in this documentary, otherwise it doesn't make sense to make this film. It doesn't make sense to do it. In the end, one of the two talents finally prevailed and was able to interview one of the two talents that we were waiting, and that was Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee kept telling us, now is not the time. He said, now is not the time. Yeah. Later. He kept saying later. This was like 2017 when we first approached him.
Yeah. And
finally, all of a sudden this year, like in March or early March or late February, all of a sudden he said, "Okay, I'm ready to. I can do the interview now," and so the waiting paid off. Because obviously you can. I mean, he's the most prolific and most well known among the clones, and you just cannot not have him, right? You just gotta have him, and so it pays off. And also the funny thing, I mean, you have to remember when he said yes, we can do it. He originally wanted us to go to China to interview because he's actually based in Beijing.
Okay.
And you know how U.S.-China relationship is right now, and so it's awfully hard to get a visa.
Yeah, especially
it's we're thinking, how are we going to do this? How can we get a visa to get to go to the interview? And luckily, he said, "Oh, you know what? I'm going to Hong Kong in March," and that it all worked out. It was perfect. We were just able to go to Hong Kong and do this, so it was perfect. And then they were also able to shoot additional footages to complement the documentary. So it was a really nice coda to it. I mean, like I said, the waiting paid off brilliantly.
Yeah, very excited to see it. And I think the other thing that has been semi-teased a lot in the forums, or rumored in the forums for a long time, semi-confirmed by Michael on his own Clonescast podcast, was the idea that there was going to be a box set, because
David actually kind of confirmed it at Cannes Film Festival.
He did. I've got another slide.
Because in Cannes Film, that's it right there. Yeah, it's like
I'm well prepared.
Yeah, so he actually put an ad in there, and you see these titles. Actually, these are not all the titles. There are more titles.
This is what I've heard,
And there will be more than one box set. Yeah.
Can you say how they'll break down? Is it going to be a Bruce Lee and a Bruce Lee box set? Or?
I don't think it's going to break down like that. I think it will be it will be a little bit of, like everyone. It's not like Volume 1 would just be Bruce Lee, Volume 2. No, I don't think it's going to be like that. It's going to be a mismatch combination. Yeah. A mix of different clones. Yeah.
Really good news. I think there's some people who, I think, unfairly look down on, kind of tar all these movies with the same brush, and particularly the kind of real die-hard Bruce Lee fans, so that the ones who view all of this as offensive, which is really unfair, I think, to the filmmakers who've worked on them, because a lot of them are fundamentally great movies. Without wanting to, I'll get death threats for saying this out loud, but some of them are better movies than some of Bruce Lee's own movies, really. Some of the lower budget, what they were working with, some of the extended cast in some of those movies.
No. Some of the fights are brilliant. Yes.
Yeah. And stuff like that. Some of the things that Michael's already put out himself through Pearl River. Dynamo's an incredible, phenomenal movie as a sort of action comedy. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Like kind of Ku Feng versus Bruce Lee in that movie is it's golden. Yeah, great.
Hopefully this documentary will kind of give a little bit of I mean, the main thing to respect. I mean, the point of documentary is to honor these folks, these filmmakers who make these films. It's not a parody. I mean, like I said again, we did not include any films that are considered parody. Okay, any like Kentucky Fried Movie. Come on, we're not gonna put Kentucky Fried. No. That's parody. So no, none of those. Anything that are considered parody, we did not. It's not part of the documentary. Yeah, this is meant to be a homage to these brilliant independent kung fu films.
Yeah. And I think I'm very happy that it's going to get more people watching them. I think I've got a very good friend who also has a YouTube channel called Martial Arts Theatre 3000, and he's in some ways been my Sifu through the world of Brucesploitation. He's seen an awful lot more than me, and he was certainly the one who was turning me on to the fact that so many of them had amazing casts in them. So a lot of the we would see Lo Meng from, who I think's in the documentary.
Lo Meng is in the documentary. He came to the interview wearing a full Daffy Duck outfit because he's a huge Daffy Duck fan. So you're gonna love it when you see him. And he's a nice guy. He's a fan, very friendly. He really appreciates all the overseas fans. He still communicates with them. He has a WeChat. I think he has a WhatsApp or a WeChat group with them. He's been to New York many times to see his fans and stuff. And so no, he's great. Yeah, he's fantastic.
He's a good dude. Yeah, and a couple of the movies that he's in, really fantastic. I think Soul Brothers of Kung Fu. He crops up in, I think, about absolutely fantastic actor. Yeah. So very intrigued to see it. And
I mean, it will be like you say, it will premiere in Tribeca. It's going to go to other film festivals too. Let's put it this way. It might be easier to see this film than you think. You might think, oh, this is just going to be in film festival and then it's going to go to video. Well, you might be surprised. Let's put it this way, especially for US fans. Yeah.
Cool. Great. And I think the timing couldn't be better, because we'll use this as a little segue to jump over to the man himself, to the Bruce Lee box set, which is coming same sort of time. So I think a little bit later into July. And is a UK only release, but there's workarounds for that, particularly if American fans have.
Well, the 4Ks are region free too.
Yeah, but half the set is Blu-ray.
That's true.
And they'll be original.
Blu-ray, yeah.
And I think a little bit more pricey to import. But you are on the set. You 2 commentary tracks for this one.
I did 2 commentaries, and I did interviews for 2 of the documentaries on the set. Yes, I was interviewing for the documentary on the set. You're
joined by Michael Worth for both your commentary tracks, aren't you?
Correct. Yeah.
Am I right in saying Way of the Dragon and Game of Death 2?
Yeah. Way of the Dragon and Game of Death 2. hoping that we could do Game of Death as well, because obviously Game of Death is, look, Game of Death in a way is also kind of Brucesploitation because of, you have, other people playing him in the film. But unfortunately, the schedule was just too tight. So we weren't able to, I mean, there is a commentary on Game of Death, with Mike Leader and Brandon.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Brandon Bentley. So there is a commentary. I mean, originally the hope was that each film would have 2 commentary. That was the original hope. But I think Game of Death only had 1, and the Mike and Brandon commentary. We were hoping to do 1 too, but the timing wise, it was just too tight. So yeah.
And there's no shortage of other kind of content on there. It's looking pretty jam-packed as a set. I'm really hoping that I'll be able to do with the Shawscope sets. I was very lucky to, through the Eastern Heroes connection, I still write the regular, the Blu-ray section for Eastern Heroes magazine each time. So our communication with Arrow has always been really good. So when Shawscope 1 came out, I was able to kind of get the screeners early enough that I could break down and go through each disc, and hoping to be able to do the same thing with the Bruce Lee set. But yeah, it looks pretty special.
Yeah,
exciting.
People will not be disappointed.
No, not at all. And if for some reason, if there's somebody out there watching who cannot stand Bruce Lee and none of that sort of era is their thing, there's so much other fascinating stuff coming at the same sort of time. We should jump briefly onto Stephen Chow, because I'm hoping this is going to be towards the tail end of June, but I'm pretty excited for this set.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, it was originally announced for June, and ADA has not spoken much about it, but I did actually help them on 2 things, because they were telling me there were no extras whatsoever from the studio in terms of, the original extra stuff, So there was almost like 0 extras for these films. And of course, this being, this being ADA film, of course, they would like to have as many special features as they could. And I was able to help them found 2 additional bonus features that I think fans would like it. One is the Chinese New Year teaser for the 3rd film.
Cool.
Because the 3rd film, I forgot what all films came out during Chinese New Year, but the 3rd film definitely came out during Chinese New Year because of the theme. And when the title has a Chinese New Year reference in it, and so that film came out during Chinese New Year, and they did a teaser. The cast did a little teaser promoting the film, and they were saying, "Oh, I found this on YouTube," and I said, "Hey, did you guys have this?" They said, "No." They say, the rights owner gave them nothing, 0. And so I subtitle it. I subtitle a teaser, so they're going to include a teaser on the 3rd film. And then there's also an interview with Gordon Chan, the director for the first 2 films, that it just so happened it was done just like right when I was about to see Manfred Wong in Hong Kong. And Manfred has his own YouTube channel in Hong Kong and on YouTube called Man Talk. It's in Chinese, so you have to understand Chinese to watch the interview. But I was originally I was in Hong Kong in March, shooting the stuff for the documentary, and since he was interviewed for Duel to the Death, for Eureka's Duel to the Death, I thought, well, I should really give him the disc personally, as a sign of respect, right? So it just so happened that like a week before I went there, he did an interview with Gordon Chan on his YouTube channel. And so when I went to Hong Kong to see him and gave him the Eureka Duel to the Death disc, I asked him, "Hey, I noticed you did this interview with Gordon just last week, and we're doing this Fight Back to School. Is it okay if we include it on the disc?" And he was kind enough to say yes. So
amazing.
So the Gordon Chan interview that he did on his YouTube channel will be on the first disc, subtitled by me. So yeah.
The subtitling's no small task either. You've done subtitling for an awful. I've redone the subtitles for a lot of movies.
Yeah.
And done the subtitles for the extras. Did you do? Because I think a couple of the 88 Films releases have great episodes of that wonderful celebrity talk show.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't do that one. No, they would have killed me to do that one because that's 45 minutes long.
Yeah, long. And I was so hoping that was going to become a regular fixture, because that show ran for so long. That was the one that was hosted by Ni Kuang. And just a golden show, but impossible to find normally without subs.
Well, they're all on YouTube. You just need to know Chinese to find them and understand them. But again, like interviews are very difficult to to subtitle because it's just very time consuming.
Yeah.
I just did the subtitle for the Mang Hoi interview for Lady Reporter for Eureka.
That was also on my list because I was curious if you'd shot that as well, because you shot the Cynthia Rothrock interview for that disc, didn't you?
Yeah, that was I did I shot interview for both Cynthia and Mang Hoi for Lady Reporter. Yeah.
I'm intrigued to see.
Yeah, the subtitle interviews are very time consuming because talking, obviously, in the interview, the talk is the talking is constant, there's nonstop. Whereas in the film, you have gaps, you have action, you have drama, you have silent moments. So it's less time consuming to subtitle a film than an interview. I'm not saying that it doesn't is like it's quick to do subtitle film. It's not.
Well, my wife occasionally does subtitling. I think you ended up kind of working on the same project that she was partially subtitling at one point, because she was doing the translation of the Eastern Heroes interview for Angela Mao, which I think halfway through I did.
The one
yeah. And I think halfway through her just getting ready to do it, because at one stage it was all going to be done electronically. They were just going to email everything across to her, and her son was going to help. Then I think one of the Eastern Heroes collaborators, probably Simon, made contact with you, and you ended up basically delivering the interview on Eastern Heroes' behalf and Eureka's behalf at the same time. And speaking to her in person, which is worked out so well. It's a kind of really, really great interview. But I think my wife was working for like 3 days, going back and forth. And that was like 15 questions. That was not that much stuff to translate.
Not that much. No, the interview itself actually, I think it was like half an hour, or maybe less than an hour. Yeah. I'm dreading the KK Wong interview. The KK Wong interview was an hour for Burning Paradise.
Wow.
It was so long. It was so long that Eureka couldn't fit it on the disc. That's why it's going to be on a future title. I mean, originally, the Burning Paradise is supposed to have my interview with KK Wong on it, but he talks so much. I mean, it's great. No, the interview is great. Okay, he talked a lot. A film, the pop of a film, his friendship with Ringo, and in the end, it was just, had we included that interview on the Burning Paradise, it would have compromised the quality of the video for the film, which we do not want to do, because again, it's Ringo Lam. Come on, and that film was shot so so beautifully that any additional compression to the video would the picture would have suffered, and so we decided that okay, we're not going to include it as much as we wanted to. We cannot include it because the film, as much as people love the extra features, the film always comes first, right? I mean,
absolutely, it has to. Absolutely.
Yeah, the film always comes first, and that, when you watch the film and we rewatch it, you always rewatch the film more than the special features, to be honest. And so it was felt that, okay, we'll put the KK Wong interview, because he did interview for 2 films that Eureka has, and so for the second film, we're going to put both interview on that second film.
Good. Intriguing stuff, I think. But a good time for us to jump back in time. You mentioned Tai Sing in passing, but I think you're come from a curious perspective in that you've sort of worked on both sides of the spectrum, as it were, where you working for a distributor and kind of understanding the nuts and bolts of how difficult it is to bring these films into the public in the first instance. I think really does help and adds a very unique flavor to the commentaries that you're doing. Not to mention the kind of the cultural aspect of the fact that I think you're the only Hong Kong native who's actually recording commentaries for Hong Kong movies at this point.
No, I think no. I don't think so now. I think Shout has Gilbert, right? Gilbert Ho or Gilbert Poe. He's from Hong Kong.
Yeah, some of those haven't come out yet. I was just going by because I got picked up their Brave Archer set.
And I think Gilbert. I think Gilbert did the Jackie Chan thing, and then he's doing the upcoming Shawbrother Volume 1 for Shout. So now I have competition. But no. So Gilbert is from Hong Kong, and I think he's a native speaker. So So yeah,
I must confess, I don't have either of those Shout. Cause 88 did such a good job with most of those Jackie Chan releases here in the UK. I haven't actually picked up either of the Shout sets. The Shaw Brothers thing was a big thing, came out of nowhere when Shout announced it.
Yeah, no, the funny thing Shout it's funny because well, I didn't know I was working for Shout initially. Okay, like last time I was in UK, Kalen Waddell. I don't know whether you know Kalen. Kalen approached me and said, "Hey, I even forgot who got like how he found me. But anyway, Kalen said, "Hey, are you interested in doing a few interviews while you're in the UK?" And I said, "Okay, sure." It was never mentioned what label these are for. He just said, "You want to do some interview?" And so when I got there, they said, okay, actually, we're going to interview about 3 things, like Jackie Chan, Donnie Yen, and I forgot what the 3rd one was.
Fu Sheng, Brave Archer.
Brave Archer, yeah, Brave Archer, Brave Archer. And this was before they approached me to do the commentary for the Return of the Condor Hero, Brave Archer, the Part 4 film, Brave Archer and his mate. And so I did the interview. Yeah, that one. Yeah. Which I loved. I love that film, by the way. I'm so glad they asked me. I'm so glad they asked me to do that particular film, because to me that was the most most interesting of the 5 films in the series. But anyway, so I did the interview, and then I think the Jackie Chan one started popping up. I mean, like when they announced Jackie Chan the box set, I saw that. Hey, how come like my interview is on there? Like they said. And then I realized, this is actually for Shout.
It's so weird that they were doing the kind of the shoots over in the UK as well. I mean, I think because that's where Callum Model's based. That kind of makes sense.
Even when I did the Brave Archer commentary, I didn't realize it was for Shout. It was only until once I did it, then I realized, this. They told me this is actually for Shout. Which then I realized, I guess Calum is really working on behalf of Shout, which is fine. I love it. I loved it. I mean, which is completely fine, and I love working with Calum. And in fact, I'm going to meet him. I'm going to meet him in Edinburgh.
When you come over this time.
Yeah. He's going to interview me again for I guess future titles. So but now I know it's going to be for Shout. So I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah.
The weirdest, I've got to say, the strangest thing about both of their box sets is the fact there's not a single Shaw Brothers logo branding anywhere on that set.
Oh, I didn't.
It seems so strange, so weird.
You mean even on the Brave Archer one?
Yeah.
Well, it has the Celestial logo, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's very strange.
You have to realize, I understand that, but you have to realize Celestial owns these films, so it's only natural for them to include the Celestial logo. It's similar to the Fortune Star titles.
Yeah,
right. I mean, a lot of the Eureka and AD film releases of the Fortune Star, you have the Fortune Star logo on it too.
Yeah, I get that. I just it seemed more like, because I think to people who know these films and who know the genre, then as soon as you hear the Brave Archer name, you make the connection. But I think, like we were saying at the beginning, whether there are so many new fans coming to this who maybe their first exposure of ever seeing Shaw Brothers movies was with Arrow Shawscope set, and they're looking to expand on more. It just seemed like, from a marketing point of view, a weird omission. Because just stick that crest on there, and you'd get an awful lot of people making the connection.
Although it is possible that if they want to include that logo, they have to pay for copyright. You never know. I don't know. I mean, it's from a marketing point, because before, I mean, it's possible that like they might have inquired about that. Like, can we put the Shaw logo on it? And maybe somebody either from Celestial or Shaw came back and told them, sure, if you pay.
Yeah, very possible. Because I think that the Brave Archer set was a website exclusive as well. I think they weren't allowed to make that available for kind of wider retail, which the Shaw's Classic one is, I think. So there's probably something going on, like you say, behind the scenes. It's probably as an industry thing.
Yeah, and I have I have no say in any of those. Like, people keep asking me, like, do you know what they're going to bring up? I say, I have no idea, man. I'm not involved in any acquisition of these titles, none whatsoever. It's all them. That's why, again, I said kudos to them for being able to like get Shaw titles. Like Tyson tried so hard to get Shaw titles back then, never worked out. Whereas now you have Arrow bringing up Shaw, you have 88 Film with the Shaw titles, and now you have Shout. So I really admire them, their ability to be able to get these titles.
I'm really hoping that the 88 turn their attention back. I mean, their lineup's busy, and those guys are super busy. And as we've said a couple of times, it's just 2 dudes. So I can be patient. I've waited for a long time, but I really hope that at some stage 88 do turn their attention back.
2 dudes who have their regular job, right? I mean, I think they do like car thing. I think automotive stuff. I mean, like that's their main job. It's like everybody. Look, I have my main job. I'm doing this on my lunch break. Okay, I'm doing this interview on my lunch break. So it's like everybody. I mean, in a way, everybody's kind of like doing freelance on these. These are like, these are all passion work. Okay, they're all passion projects. Sometimes some of the subtitling I do, I didn't even ask to be paid. I have to be honest with you. Some they're kind enough to say, okay, we can pay you for doing this. I mean, I'm talking about subtitling, right? But like some, I just did it. Like the Manfred. I mean, like the Gordon Chan interview. I just did it.
That's so cool, though, because I think he's we're slowly starting to see more and more Hong Kong directors kind of getting their time in the sun, which is amazing. But he's one of them that still we be overlooked. We haven't had a great release of Fist of
Oh
Legend
yeah,
yet.
I gotta tell about
Yeah,
you mentioned that. Like Man Hoy was surprised, when we approached him, like when I approached him and said, "Hey, can we interview you for Yes, Madam and
Lady Reporter.
Lady Reporter? We have to interview for Lady Reporter. God damn, he's a director, for crying out loud."
Yeah.
And he was so surprised because he said, "You guys still remember me?" That's what he was saying.
Yeah.
Like, you people still remember me? Like, I'm in my 60s now. I haven't done this for so long, and like when he he was just surprised that people still like
Make the
remember
connection.
him, and that they still want to talk, he listen to him talk, you know. So yeah, like you said, like you wish Hong Kong label should do something like this, but no, nobody in Hong Kong is doing something like
No, it's really weird, man. I think Hong Kong labels at the moment, because there are a few, and there's a couple of really good ones. Like Manta Lab's a pretty incredible boutique label, but they only put out Western films. I guess that there's an element of the grass is always greener. So for those of us in the US and the UK, Hong Kong cinema is the most exciting. But for those people in Hong Kong, Western movies are weirdly the thing that they want to collect. So it
Yeah, and also like Hong Kong people, like I'm not saying they're forgetful, but like to them, anything that's like over 20 years old or old,
yeah,
they always, and somehow there's this impression that old things are not good.
Yeah.
You have like Hong Kongers now who haven't even watched a Stephen Chow film. You'll be amazed that, like, on the other hand, there are also people who still remember Cynthia Rock, and like when I initially told my friends or announced that we're doing Cynthia Rock, people were amazed. They still remember her. That tells you how big an influence Cynthia Rock has on Hong Kong cinema. And also because she didn't even know this, like when I told her, like, your films are still being shown on Hong Kong TV stations, like movie stations. She had no idea. And that's how a new generation of folks knew about Cynthia Rothrock. They saw these films on, they're at home, they're watching TV. They saw, like, Yes, Madam comes on, and they saw it, and they saw Cynthia Rothrock. And that's how they knew Cynthia Rothrock. And the funny thing was, people still think that she lives in Hong Kong. They just thought that she retired. and she retired, got married, and stayed in Hong Kong. They never knew that she went back to the U.S. and did all that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, you really have kind of both ways. You have people who have no idea, who have never watched a Stephen Chow film, or who have never watched. You see on the forum and group, people say, "Oh, I have not watched this. Would I like this?" Right? You see people comment, "Oh, should I watch God of Gambler? Should I watch In the Line of Duty?" And then, like, for us, like, "Wow, we haven't seen this film," but because you never know. You have a younger generation of fans who have never seen these films because they're never available. They're not available before.
That's true.
Where can they watch this, right? So
Yeah.
and so now, people like 88 and Eureka bringing them out, and then of course, and they saw us commenting on the group and the forum, and so of course they got curious, and so I think this is really healthy. Again, this is really healthy. It's really helping this whole renaissance of the Hong Kong release.
Yeah, I quite agree. And there's a thing that Stan Lee always said, where he said every Spider-Man comic is somebody's first Spider-Man comic.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, people jump into things at different times, and it's very easy to assume that one's own knowledge is the same as everyone else that you meet's knowledge, and we all come to it at slightly different stages and with slightly different degrees of differing taste. So kind of some people will be much more into the heroic bloodshed side. Some people really love a kind of classic kung fu, and it's just kind of cool seeing them come out.
Yeah, and I try to point that out, like especially at Burning Paradise. People some people hated the fact that there's all this humor in Burning Paradise, and I just try to explain to them why there's humor in this film. I think maybe because they felt that, well, this film is way too dark. We got to put some humor in it to lighten the mood up a little bit. Who knows? And also because Troy Hark is involved in it, and Troy Hark's a producer. Like KK Wong told me, it was Troy Hark's idea to have some of these kind of weird stuff in the opening credits, which you don't see in the English version. Like I mean, in the opening scroll, Burning Paradise, there's actually a lot of crazy references from Troy Hark in the opening scroll, and that's all Troy. KK Wong said that's all Troy Hark, and it was supposed to be kind of like a tongue-in-cheek joke references. And so maybe that's how they wanted to do it. They just want to infuse a little bit of humor in this, because the film is dark and grim and gothic and stuff, and maybe, of course, it's bombing the Hong Kong box office probably because of that reason. But I mean, no, I just wanted people to know, like, why there are certain things like that. The tonal shift. Hong Kong movies are known for the tonal shift. You all of a sudden you have all this funny stuff. All of a sudden you have this drama and all that stuff. It's just part of the package. That's how Hong Kong cinema was, and
it always has been.
It always has been. You look at Guardians of the, like, James Gunn, he talked about like when he was interviewed by Wire magazine, talk about Guardians of the Galaxy. He said Hong Kong movies had the biggest influence on him, and he mentioned Tonal Shift. He said the film, Hong Kong cinema has everything, and then you go watch Guardians of the Galaxy. Isn't that the same? You have all this humor stuff, you have these funny jokes, and then you have all these sad things involving Rocket, all these tear jerking moments. So like I was watching, like this is just like Hong Kong cinema,
Yeah. And particularly with so many of the references, I think is the easiest thing for Westerners to completely. It just goes straight over our heads. I mean, I think I'd probably seen Mad Monkey Kung Fu 50 times before Arrow put out that box set, and before I got to hear your commentary on it. And half the stuff that was in there in the script, I had no idea that it was pulling from commercials and it was pulling from different places.
Yeah, lots of stuff.
That wasn't there.
Mad
Wasn't
Monkey
there
Kung Fu. You mentioned Mad Monkey Kung Fu.
Yeah,
I did that subtitle in 20. Like, oh God, I have to do that subtitle for the film in 24 hours or more than 24 hours because apparently, whoever that gave them the subtitle file, originally it was done by someone else. Okay.
Yeah.
Turns out the person that gave them the file, he did the person that just transcribed it from the subtitles.
Okay.
And then they found
kind
out.
Of cheating.
Yeah, and they say, "Oh no," and then they reach out to me and say, "Hey, we have this little minor problem." I said, "That's not a minor problem.
It's like a week and a half work.
You can never use subtitles. Come on." And so they asked me to do the subtitle for the film, but they said, "Unfortunately, we cannot credit you for it because everything else has been printed. Booklet, everything." They said, "Oh, sure, I'll do it." I did it, and it was a rush job because obviously they're about to go to print. And so I did that. I did the subtitle for Mad Monkey Kung Fu in like
thank you for doing
24 hours or more than 24 hours without sleep, nonstop.
Oh, Frank, the not sleep, the without sleep thing doesn't surprise me too much because I think you're a man who doesn't get a chance to sleep that much. But I know you personally, you're a big Lau Garong fan, right? He's one of your favorite.
Oh yeah. I'm so glad they asked. Originally they're going to ask me to do the commentary for My Young Auntie. And I really, obviously I don't want to say no, right? And I mean, I did two for them, right? I did the
Barefoot
Kid,
as well,
right? Which I love. I'm a big Johnny Toe fan, in case you don't know by now. Barefoot Kid, and then originally it was going to be My Young Auntie, and I mean, it's not my favorite Lau Garong film. I just felt there was just too much comedy in it, not enough fights, and but I said, sure, I'll do it, And then they said, "Oh, we found Tony Rain's going to do it." I said, "Oh, great!" They say Tony Rain's going to do My Young Auntie because apparently that's like Tony Rain's favorite Lau Garong film or whatever.
Wow, weird.
Yeah, okay. And then Arrow said, "Would you mind doing Mad Monkey Kung Fu?" I said, "Oh my gosh, of course not."
I love them both. I think I think Mad Monkey is the better film of the two, but I've got a soft spot for My Young Auntie for the Sao connection. I think Sao easily one of my favorite kind of performers and actors. And he really gets a chance to shine in My Young Auntie too.
Well, and Mad Monkey Kung Fu too, right? Yeah.
Well, that's his star, really. I think that's the kind of highest point of his career. I mean, just Disciples of the 36 Chamber to a lesser extent too, but I think really Mad Monkey Kung Fu is his movie, and I think it's the one his personality, all the way that he moves is best suited to that. And we've been so lucky. I think the last couple of years we're almost up to all of Lau Garong's filmography shows coming out. Almost, I think it was
amazing. I mean, unimaginable just a few years ago that you're gonna have all these great Lau Garong movies remastered and everything. I mean,
and with incredible commentary tracks. In some cases, 2 incredible commentary tracks. Because that's something else I have to ask you about. Is that something? Because you did. Let me pull them over.
Well, because I like Lau Garong so much, I did too.
I wondered, right? Because on both. Weapons, right?
Because I love them. I love Lau Garong. I think he's the greatest martial arts choreographer. I mean,
he's my favorite director of any genre from any country. I think I've Lau Garong very early on was the dude who got me into Shaw Brothers movies. I was just really fortunate. We had a run of maybe I think 6 or 8 Shaw's titles came out on Made in Hong Kong VHS label, and in amongst that was Mad Monkey Kung Fu and Dirty Ho. So the 2 of his movies that I saw first were 2 that still remain my favorites. I think My Young Auntie came out long
also because I've done all this research, and because obviously when you do a commentary with a partner, which all my partners are great. I have to say thank you to all my great partners, Michael, FJ, And is there someone else that did
Yeah,
commentary?
there's something coming up. I think is it on election? You're doing a commentary with.
Oh, John Charles, of course. Yes, John Charles. Yeah. So all my partners are great. I love them all. I think they're fantastic, and I've done all these research on the stuff, and so because when you do a commentary with a partner, obviously you're gonna if there's something that you will miss or you cannot you don't have time to include, and so having a supplementary commentary is a great is a great way to include the rest of the stuff. Which is the same thing with election, like with election 2, because election 2 is one of my favorite Johnny To movies. There you go. And I did the election commentary with John, and for election 2, there's just so much in that film, so many political metaphor for so many themes in it that obviously you cannot cover it all when you're doing it with a partner, and also because that film was short. That film, election 2 is very short. It's only like 88 minutes, and so I actually told Chameleon, "Hey, can I do a supplementary commentary?" And they said, "Great, sure."
I can't imagine anyone ever says no. Give us less stuff, because really it's a treat. And I think they've always got a very different flavor. I think you have a different energy and a kind of slightly different focus when you're doing them on your own versus naturally, because you've got somebody else there. But it works really well, particularly with Michael. I'm a huge fan of the times when you sit down with Michael, because he's got a very cinematography focused and kind of action beat focused eye to the way that he's kind of interpreting things. So you play off each other really, really well.
Yeah. You notice how I'll just keep quiet whenever if the fight comes up, because I know Michael can. I'll let Michael do the talking on the fight because he can analyze them so well, and also on all the cinematography stuff, the visuals, because he's a cinematographer, so he obviously have a better eye on a lot of the visuals and stuff. So I remember when we did one of these Joseph Cole, I think we did a Joseph Cole commentary, and he mentioned how this scene, it was shot in one take with like over a minute and a half, and had he not mentioned it, I wouldn't even have noticed it, because it was a non-fighting scene. It was just a dialogue scene, and it went on for a minute and a half, and he pointed that out, and I didn't even notice that. So it's great sometimes to have a partner like Michael, and also FJ. I love FJ. FJ went to film school. He's a Hollywood producer, so he had a particular. He's very good in analyzing characterization, plot-wise, the script or the plot and everything. So again, he's a very valuable addition to the commentary too. And he's a big Jackie Chan fan. So
has met so many people, I think, over the years. He's got some incredible stories.
He's a member of the Jackie Chan fan club and all that stuff. He's been to Hong Kong and New York to meet Jackie, and so it's my point to make sure that every time I do a Jackie Chan commentary, and which there will be more, FJ will be on it. Yeah.
Cool. No, good to hear. I think I'm mindful of your time, because you are on your lunch hour. Are you okay?
5 more minutes. 5 more minutes. Yeah.
And in that case, I'll be super selective. When you're seeing the guys from 88, please say to them to do more Shaw Brothers, and specifically to maybe take a little look across the ocean to our French cousins, because Spectrum have been doing some amazing releases of titles that I think definitely need to be seen more. They did the 2 Bastard Swordsman movies in France, which are both just such good fun films. And I think we don't know exactly what's going to be on Arrow's 3rd Shawscope set. There might be some fantasy
I think the 3rd set will be more horror. I think more horror.
Yeah, I think other genres. I'm hoping for maybe some crime thrillers.
They also mentioned they're going to do maybe a set that's devoted to Chor Yun. The film that
that would sort of take us firmly into some wuxia, and if that steps into the fantasy realm, because both Holy Flame of the Martial World and Demon of the Loot, my wife's favorite Shaw Brothers movie is Demon of the Loot, and I think it'd be incredible to see them coming from 88.
You have to realize Spectrum is a little different, because again, Spectrum film had no English subtitle, and so
I know.
So it's much easier for them. I think it's much easier for them to buy films just for French.
It's a lot cheaper.
Right, a lot cheaper, exactly.
But I think it's not so much, because I know it always comes back to licensing and to rights, but I didn't know if it might be slightly cheaper to try and kind of piggyback off the back of the fact that they've already done the transfers, and it would essentially just be if they could get the rights, it would just be a case of trying to negotiate.
It's possible, like Arrow and Eureka collaborate on a lot of the titles, like the Mouse stuff. So I mean, it's good. I think it's healthy. It's a great way to save costs.
I quite agree. And the one other one, while I've got you, because we need to take it right the way back to the beginning again, because this is a title I suspect you probably worked on, but one of my favorite Tai Seng releases. And one that I'm really hoping at some point will get picked up onto and go into Blu-ray. For those that don't know, this is Ninja and the Deadly Trap, aka Ruthless Tactics. The one and only time that Ko Choi got behind the director's chair, and it was made kind of at the same time as Five Element Ninjas, with virtually the same script, right?
Yeah, almost. Yeah. I thought you might have brought up The Victim.
The Victim I love, the Sammo Hung movie, but I think that one is definitely mired in some degree of kind of rights now. Yeah. And there's actually a wonderful restoration by a fellow Scot, actually. There's a restorer called the Kung Fu Robber, based out of Scotland, who's kind of basically gone through frame by frame, and they've done an amazing restoration of The Victim, which is up on YouTube. You can anyone can find that right now, I think, until it gets taken down. But Ninja and the Deadly Trap, I'd love to see at some point, particularly while Ko Choi is still alive,
still around, still around, exactly.
It'd be really, really cool to kind of see a nice official release of that coming out. So maybe give 88 a prod on those on my behalf when you see them. I shall let you try and wolf down some lunch before you have to get back to work.
Actually, I don't eat lunch.
Frank.
Well, it's one way to to lose weight too.
This is true, but you kind of need to fuel the incredible 21/22 hour days that you're maintaining at the moment, doing all this sort of stuff. So, is there anything else that we've not had a chance to? Oh, yes, there is one. Another Shaw's adjacent release. So, there was an announcement about Shaolin versus Wu-Tang, right?
Shaolin versus Wu-Tang. Oh gosh, yeah.
Which I know is something you've been asked about a bajillion times, but
yes, Dan Halstead from Hollywood Theater in Portland, Oregon. He approached me and said, "Hey, this is like Reza. How do I pronounce that? RZA.
Reza.
Reza. Okay, so Reza. This is Reza's favorite kung fu film, and he did like a live commentary for the film for an event back then. And anyway, so they wanted to release this film in the US, and they asked me, can you find a rights owner? And so I started trying to locate the rights owner. So apparently the original rights owner has passed away, and so obviously the rights passed on to the heir. And they sold it. They sold the Hong Kong and Macau rights to TVB, the Hong Kong largest television network, because they were showing it on the TV station. And so initially we approached TVB and asked them, "Hey, can you tell us where you got this film from? Like who you bought this film from?" They wouldn't tell us. They wouldn't tell us, and so we kept looking, we kept trying, and this has been going for at least like more than a year. And finally, Reza, they located the rights owner, and I guess something is going to happen with this film. I guess. Okay,
I think so. We got a press release.
Exactly. Right? No, but it's not going to be from them. No, it's not going to be from them.
Ah, okay.
I think the thing is this helped.
Okay.
In tracking down the rights owner, I think, because when AFA announced this.
That's when the rights holder came back and went, "Hey, wait a minute, that's mine."
Yeah, and then
okay.
And then or either that, or by then Reza has already found the rights owner, and then somehow let AFDA know, "Hey, this film is actually someone already bought the rights to this film."
Okay, because I think I know that when Reza had it on, because he has his own website where basically you could kind of watch films either with or without his commentary. And that was the first time I saw the new restoration. So he was screening it on his website, and I think that had been a scan from Dan's print, because Dan has a 35mm print of it.
Right.
I think
with the burn-in subtitles, yes.
Yeah. And I think it was Agfa who did that scan, because when you watched it on Rizza's site, because I remember when it went live, I was there and I paid my $10 and watched it on the website, and it came up with an Agfa logo at the front when the start end. So I just had assumed that they were going to be the ones that would actually bring it to market. It's interesting that it's maybe going to be from a different source, but if it's coming, I'm not gonna split hairs about who it's coming from, because I think certainly if it's a similar restoration to the one that Agfa did from Dan's print, it looks incredible. Even if it is with burnt in subs, that's fine. I'll take
That's
it.
fine. Yeah. I mean, the same thing with Shaolin Invincibles. I think Axel also released Shaolin Invincible.
Yeah. Which
With
is
the gorillas.
bonkers movie.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't know who owns that film. So
yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's a minefield. I think a similar situation, presumably with Ninja and the Deadly Trap, because can you remember how easy it was to track down the rights for that? The 20 odd years ago when you put it out?
Well, those are Ocean Shores. That was easy. Now it's hard.
Okay.
Ocean. I think the Ocean. I don't know whether the Ocean Shore guy is still alive. So,
I'm not too sure. I think there's a good chance that a large chunk of that stuff was bought by the channel that is now the Wu-Tang Collection, which is not, just to make things super confusing, not remotely affiliated with the RZA from the actual Wu-Tang clan.
Right. And also the Ocean Shore Master are not in the best shape. Initially when we, the Tai Sing, when we did that martial art theater series, with the Ninja and the Deadly Trap, there was more than 100 films. And I have to review. Oh God, I have to review all of them to check on the master and make sure they're okay.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? I watch all of them before we release them, and almost 1/3 of them we cannot release because the master is in such bad shape.
Were you having to go through the 35mm prints at that point?
No, it was pneumatic. The masters.
Okay.
The pneumatic masters, not the print. No, the print would have been great because the print would have been in the original aspect ratio. All of these are I think with the exception of the victim. No, the victim was also not in the original. I think the only one that was in the original aspect ratio was Eagle's Claw. I think the rest are all full screen.
Yeah.
And they're all pneumatic masters. And, I have to watch them. It's like, oh my God, some of these are you just cannot release them. You're just in such bad shapes.
Panned and scanned at that point. I mean, I think people who are only seeing this stuff in widescreen, you don't know how lucky you are. Because a lot of the time the pan wouldn't catch the action.
Of course.
Someone would be fighting off screen at the side.
Exactly. Yeah. They're not even pan and scan. They're just like this. They don't even bother to pan. Right? They're just like that.
Crazy, because so many of those films really celebrated that. I mean, literally Shaw's built a whole label around the fact that they were shooting in anamorphic and in widescreen. So I think you're missing out not seeing them in that ratio. But crazy. I think it's just a magical, wonderful thing that we're kind of seeing more and more stuff. So I know that there's going to be some titles that will slip through the cracks. There's going to be the Shaolin versus Lamas and these sort of titles that we probably won't see. But I'm very grateful for the ones that we have, and extremely thankful for the huge amount of hard work that you've been doing, giving us just endless hours of commentary tracks. I don't even think I've been able to work through listening to all the ones that you've done for the releases that I already have, let alone what's the ones that are coming further down the pipe.
I counted how many commentaries I did last year. It's 47.
Jeez, do you know what you're up to in total? 47 in a year is insane.
Last year was 47. Yeah. This year I think 25 so far. Yeah.
And we're only in May.
Only in May, and I have 7 to do this month. I have to do 7 this month.
Because you about 2 weeks worth of research per track.
I don't have that luxury anymore.
Okay.
Before, yes.
Yeah.
Before maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks sometimes, but no, not anymore. Now it's more like 2 or 3 days. That's it.
Okay. But how much is, because you have a background coming from kind of libraries and from
I'm a librarian on weekends.
How much does that feed into your ability to find research and find?
It really helped. No. I mean, it really helped. Luckily, I did. When I did my library school, I actually took 2 classes on online searching, so that helped me finding. It helped me a lot in finding stuff. But you can tell. I mean, although I still don't have a lot of luck when it comes to finding rights owners.
Well, that's a tricky thing, because there's some information just impossible to get online, and for those who don't. Hopefully it's not stating the obvious, but you're not exactly just jumping onto Wikipedia and pulling up. No. So a lot of this stuff is quite deep dives for information.
Deep dives, and also mostly from Chinese articles, Chinese articles. Yeah, because those are a little bit more. There's a lot more insight in the Chinese. I mean, they go a little bit deeper in the like when they interview them in Chinese and stuff. So a lot of the English stuff that you see online, very kind of on the surface. Yeah.
No, it's appreciated. Thank you so much. And Frank, I should let you go, because I think we're probably just about to get kicked off. So last minute, I shall thank you very much again for this.
All right.
It's been an absolute pleasure. My virtual door is always open anytime you want to jump back on again. But enjoy your travels and enjoy your trip to the UK. If you need to know anywhere to eat, message me and I'll point you in the right direction for places in Glasgow and Edinburgh. Sure. Enjoy your time in Scotland.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much again.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.